guys, this is Kishan and today we are going to talk about exceptions in Oracle PL.SQL. Why there are exceptions, why do we need to work with them, why to cache them, handle them, write few extra lines of code. But believe me guys, exceptions are really there for our help. They help us a lot. I'll just show you some examples and you'll see how they are helpful. So first of all, what are exceptions? Why do we take this pain to write an exception block and handle them and all these kind of things? So first of all, an exception is any warning or error that we get in a PL.SQL block. I have a PL.SQL block, I'm selecting from a table, that select statement fails. Either I am selecting into a variable and there are more records found. It throws an exception called as too many rows, or like no data is found from that select statement. It gives me no data found, or I'm trying to store in a variable with less size, it gives some kind of exceptions. So what are these exceptions? These exceptions are nothing but the error message that the PL.SQL gives us. The error that are raised during the execution of our PL.SQL block. Whenever an exception is raised, the normal execution of the block is stopped. It goes and jumps to the exception section, tries and find the handle for that exception. If not found, goes to the host environment. This way exception works, whether it is in a procedure or a function or trigger or wherever. Whenever an exception is occurred, the normal execution will stop and will go to the exception block. If not there, it will go out to the host environment. So that is the very simple way of understanding an exception. Okay, so there are different type of exceptions. Say suppose there are internally defined exceptions, the exceptions that are given by Oracle, that are predefined by Oracle. Some of them have names given to them. Those are known as predefined exceptions. For some Oracle has not given any name, but we can give some names to them. Those are categorized into internally defined exceptions, and the third is user defined exceptions. In this particular video, I'll concentrate on predefined exceptions. I have created a separate video for user-defined exception. It is a vast topic, so that way. So what are these predefined exceptions, how to work with them, and all, we'll look into this particular video. So as I told you, predefined exceptions are named Oracle exceptions that are given to us by Oracle. So whenever that kind of exception is raised, in our PL.SQL block, that kind of an error comes, that particular exception will be thrown. That exception would be thrown implicitly. We do not need to declare that exception, we do not need to raise that exception. All we need to do is handle those exceptions. Yeah. So why I said all these things is because user defined exception, you need to declare them and raise them, but there's a separate video to discuss all that. So what I'll do is I'll just give you a simple example and we will see how we can use these exceptions. So over here, I'll be using this employees table of the HR schema. And I've written a simple PL.SQL block over here. What I've done is I've declared two variables, P cell and P department ID. I've given department ID as 10. Okay, so I'm selecting the salary into this variable P cell from this employees table where department ID is 10. So as you can see, for department ID 10 there is only one row. So there is a row, so there is no chance of getting no data found or getting too many rows kind of thing. So this block will just execute easily. See, I get 440, salary is 4400 for department ID 10. Easy peasy, nothing to worry, right? But what if I give department ID as EPC, some department which has more than one row? Say 20, let's try. When I give 10, 20 over here, and when I execute this block, what I get is an exception. This is the exception. What it says is exact fetch return more than requested number of rows. So it is saying you are trying to do a select of salary from employees table for department ID 20, but 20 has two rows. How can I put two salaries into one variable? This is what exception is. Oracle saying, hey, I don't know what to do, what you have given me. So this is a very simple example of exception. We can see this is the SQL error code, this is the SQL error message. Now how to work this SQL with this SQL error code and error message, how to store them in our database, how to take use of them. Those things I have done a separate video of SQL codes and SQL ERM. Please do watch it. So over here, how to handle this particular exception? What we can do is we can simply write when as we know that more than one row is returned in a select statement, more than one rows can come. So the exception name would be too many rows. This is the predefined Oracle exception name. So what will happen is, when this program will be executed and this select statement will raise an exception, the program execution will go to this exception block. There it will check, is there a catch for too many rows, or is there a general catch, that is when others, then it would execute the block in it. So I'll just simply write inside this, what I'll do is too many rows exception executed. I'll write like that, too many rows exception encountered or caught for department ID, and I just mentioned that for this department ID, but mostly in exception catch you will be catching the exceptions and then storing them into different tables. So I'm just right now, for the ease of understanding, all I'm just printing it on the screen. So as you can see, the exception got raised over here. The program execution went to this exception block and it got this exception, too many rows. Over here it got that exception and given me the printout, this one. You can have insert statements here, you can have a separate, you can declare different variables and all over here, do different things as per your business logic, but this is the basic way how you will catch an exception. So this is catching one exception. Now say suppose you are not getting any row. Say suppose if I give 200 over here, so 200, again an exception is thrown. That exception is no data found exception. Why? Because for 200 there is no record in employees table. For department ID 200, so you can see is I have record only from 10 to 90, 110, nothing for 200. So over here no data found exception was raised. It went to the exception block, it checked, but it did not get any handler or any catch subroutine written for no data found. So it threw this exception onto the screen. See, as you can see, this exception is given to the host environment. It says this is the SQL code, no data found, it came at line 6, all those details. So what you can do is you can catch multiple exceptions in our exception block. Like I can put here when no data found. Then what? I can when no data found, if I want to do an insert, I can write a variable name over here, give a a static value and continue with my insert, or stop the execution as by storing the error message. I'll just write here no data found for this department. So now when you execute it, it came to the exception block. First of all, it found too many rows. It will say no, this is not what I need. Then it came down. It came to no data found, and it printed this error message to me on the screen. I'll just execute it again. See, and it gave this no data found. This one, what is it? No data found exception code. No data found exception code. So you can have such multiple exception, one after the other, down the line. Okay, and if say suppose it's not required that you put each and everything, you can also put an or over here, or no data found. So if too many rows or this one, whichever comes, just print this statement too many rows like that. So I can remove this, I don't need this anymore. I've just written an or over here, too many rows or no data found exception is raised. Okay, so over here we can see too many rows or no data found exception part. So this is one more way of using it with an or clause. Now say suppose you are not sure what kind of exception will raise, or you don't care what kind of exception is raised, you just want to log into a table. Okay, there's no branching of your subprograms or no logic behind any exception. Then what you can do is, instead of all of this, there is a very generic exception handler given by Oracle, that is known as when others then. If you write when others in any PL.SQL block, a procedure function or trigger or anonymous block, what happens is whenever an exception is reached, whatever the kind of exception, it gets caught in this when others then. See, as we have seen in this example with this 200, there was, if there is no this no data found and only too many rows, then it still throws onto the screen saying, boss, I'm not being handled by this too many rows, I need a no data found. But this others is the most general one. If you write some kind of exception case, so now when I execute it, any kind of exception that will raised, which will come in it, see, some exception caught, because there is no data. Now if I do 20, the exception raised before was too many rows, but in this most generalized exception will get catch. See, some exception caught. So every time when others, then will always catch the exception, no matter whatever it is. But say suppose you want when others, then for the exceptions you don't know, but you even want, like I even want too many rows, no problem, just mention it above, like more than one row found for, and I can write this, I can say when others, when too many rows. So what I've done is, for the most generic one I have when others, then even I have too many rows. So when this block is executed, it goes in hierarchical way, top to bottom. It got first too many rows, it got satisfied with too many rows, and it gave this output. Say suppose our condition of no data found, this say 2000 department ID, there is nothing called as 2000, and when I execute this, I just clear this time the others block is executed. The program execution came to exception block. Over here it didn't get any record with 2000, it came to this exception block. It says no, when others, there is not what I need, but I really need no data found, but no problem, others is the most centralized one, and so it will go into this. But always make sure that whenever you are using when others, then with any other exception, always mention others at the last, because it is the most general one. If you anyhow by mistake put it above, Oracle will not allow. Oracle will say, hey, if there is the most generalized one above, why there is a specific one below? See, it says others handler must be at the last among the exception handlers. So if you are using others, always use it at the last. And also you cannot use others with or something like that, like when this or others, let us try. If you put or others, again it is a problem. It says no choices may appear with others. Others is the boss. It should be at the last, it should be not with anyone else, and it will catch all the exception that is raised. But always working with exception, you will be working with this error code and error message. I am not speaking of them over here because I have a separate video and I don't want to extend it. Now apart from this predefined exceptions, there are user defined exceptions, and it is a lot more deeper concept. I have made a separate video on that also. If you enjoyed this video, please go and look at those videos also. Those are very much informative as this one. I hope you guys enjoyed this and this was informative. Please do let me know in the comments. Please do like, share and subscribe. This is Kishan signing off. Thank you guys.